more that I just received, and I was asked, Drake, how about the illegal intervention of our grand juries by government officials?
Say that again very slowly.
How about the illegal intervention of our grand juries by government officials?
Well, it depends on which kind of intervention you're talking about. If you're talking about using grand juries contrary to the Constitution, that's something that needs to be dealt with. If you're talking about political officials and people who are power brokers interfering with grand juries or adjudications of people where when you're rich you don't go to jail and you don't have charges and that sort of thing, that also needs to be dealt with. Now, the difference between what everybody considers as being correct and what is correct deals with the lawfulness of what you're doing. And in order to know whether or not you're lawful, you need to go back and find a thing called common law and study it prolifically. We're going to need several experts in this field, and by experts I do not mean somebody that has ideas about it but can literally put it to work. That's a big difference. Nobody can self-appoint themselves into offices of any kind. It doesn't work that way. The idea of people forming a grand jury can be lawful and not legal. If you do the combination of lawful and legal, and you formulate your paperwork exactingly, you can come out with some of the results that you're looking for. Otherwise, you're spinning your wheels and wasting your time and subjecting yourself to possible adjudication for playing games with the law.
Mm-hmm. All right, I have another question. Do you have a chips hit the fan plan?
Do I?
Well, do you or groups or is there a way to pull all groups together? Because the chips are hitting the fan.
Well, first of all, we're working with a tactical situation. This is one of the reasons that everybody's been waiting. I don't like to wait. I got my belly full of that on what's called hunter-killer patrols, where you go out and you hunt the enemy up and engage them, and ambush patrols. Ambush patrols, you go out and you make a hell of a lot of racket, then you quiet down and continue to move. Then you go and you sit and wait. And when a bug doesn't sound quite right or somebody steps on a frog, you pull the trigger. That kind of waiting is basically what we're doing here. The emergency plan is to implement the mass arrests in conjunction with the tactical advantage of being in the correct position in order to stop the destruction of the records that are going to be needed in order to set the country straight. That's basically where the problem lies, right?
Let me rephrase the question. If there was a massive civilian uprising, is there a chain of command available who could help with that?
Yes.
Okay, that was my question. Because the way I'm looking at it right now is the chips have already hit the fan. I've been telling people that we have 9 months left to our Constitution. Then it was 8 months. And then Friday, when he came up with these executive orders, I realized that we were out of time. We have no more time. This is absolutely a coup. There's no way around it. Look up coup d'etat and you'll see. It's a small group of people who are politically taken over. The executive branch of our government has overthrown the other two branches. These executive orders, now today I saw some things that actually Hadia put it out, that this is just an update to an original executive order from the 1950s. No, it isn't. Absolutely no, it isn't. Yes, there was an executive order in the 1950s, and it has been updated with each president, but this guy reworded it. And what he has done with the executive order that he just came up with is actually he had two executive orders, but the one that I wanted to bring up was the executive doomsday order, the national emergency. Let me read you something here. It says, in a nutshell, It's the blueprint for peacetime martial law, and it gives the president the power to take about anything deemed necessary for national defense, whatever they decide that is. And it says, while millions of people have been preparing for the possibility of a catastrophic event by relocating to rural homesteads or farms, as well as stockpiling food, water, personal defense armaments, and other essential supplies, with the intention of utilizing these preparations if the worst happens, the latest executive order makes clear that in the event of a nationally deemed emergency, all of these resources will fall under the authority of the United States government. So that means all of the prep that you've been doing. Now listen to this. Section 201, the priorities and allocations. Number 1, the Secretary of Agriculture, with respect to food resources, food facilities, livestock, veterinary resources, plants, and domestic distribution of farms and commercial fertilizer, they can seize that. The Secretary of Energy can seize all forms of energy. The Secretary of Health and Human Services can seize all health resources. Secretary of Transportation with respect to all forms of civilian transportation. And the Secretary of Defense will seize all water resources. And the Secretary of Commerce can seize other materials, services, and facilities. It goes on to say about you can be an indentured servant. Let me find this. National defense means programs for military and energy production or construction or critical infrastructure assistance. Let me see if I can find I should have highlighted it. But it goes on about he can reestablish the draft here. Upon request by the Director of Selective Service, in coordination with the Secretary of Defense, assist the Director of Selective Services in development of policies regulating the induction and deferment of persons for duty in the armed services. So that brings back the draft too. It goes after banks. It can give them loan guarantees. And it says here, your land, your food, your water, and your abilities as a laborer are now wholly owned subsidiary of the United States government at any time they choose to initiate the provisions of this order.
All well and good.
Sounds to me. And this is not just for an emergency. They can do it any time they deem necessary in non-emergency.
Have you read the Homeland Security Act?
I have.
Well, you'll find each and every last one of those provisions contained therein.
Mm-hmm.
That's how long ago it started.
But this just reinforces it. Now, another thing, too.
What this does is this takes the capability of anti-legislating out of it. Other than repealing the Homeland Security Act and a whole bunch of government officials that I feel need to go to jail, that's basically the alternative.
Well, about 5 minutes after he signed that, another article was signed, and this launches the FEMA Corps program. You know who the FEMA Corps program is?
Yes.
AmeriCorps. AmeriCorps. He's teaching them how to be... Remember when he said that he had all those summer jobs for interns and he wasn't going to pay them? Well, he's taking all these college kids and inducting them into the AmeriCorps, and he's teaching them how to be FEMA camp employees. This is from HS Today. The White House has announced a new partnership between the Department of Homeland Security's Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, and the Corporation for National and Community Service that will establish a FEMA-devoted unit of 1,600 Service Corps members within the AmeriCorps National Civilian Community Corps, solely devoted to disaster preparedness, response, and recovery. He's teaching these kids how to be Gulag camp.
Citizen soldiers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Remember, he said that he wanted a civilian army that was equally funded and armed.
I'll take you back to the beginning of what you just said. It says the Department of Homeland Security. Names it right up front and first.
Mm-hmm.
The director of Homeland Security becomes the president under those conditions, and at the same time becomes the commander-in-chief. Now, what you got here simply is a reinforcement order of an open declaration in form of executive order, so that there cannot be legislation put up against such order. Now, I don't know that there's enough people to override those particular things, but this needs to be attended to. Now, my understanding is that because of the manner in which the notification was made to The Hague, that these and all other agreements, to include anything that comes after 1787, is null and void. Just that simple. So the actions, just because somebody declares something, it's just like the ideology of martial law. They tried that twice already and they couldn't get it done. It couldn't be brought about. And that was when they were a lot stronger than they are now. Then, I mean, those people that are pulling strings from behind the scenes, the ones you don't see. So what we've got is a situation where, and I have put in a request for communication to find out what our tactical situation is and whether or not we can do something now.
Yeah, well, we need a tactical situation. He also signed another executive order establishing White House Council on strong cities, strong communities. What this other, the second executive order, not the FEMA order, but the executive order does, is it gives him the authority to reach in our treasury and bail out cities, towns, regions, states, even the state of California, because of their legacy costs. You know how they have all these federal and state employees that they have all these contracts with and pensions and all that, and they're all going underwater? Well, he can bail them out without Congress. It's called the Executive Order Establishing a White House Council on Strong Cities.
Well, that you just stated in a nutshell what I just said before.
Right.
FEMA and these other so-called agencies are now supposedly in charge. Now, I don't know how many straws you got to pile on the camel's back in order to cause the camel to object, but my situation in terms of what I'm seeing here is that two things need to take place. One is that every available troop needs to find out who the good guys are in their command and initiate the action as soon as possible. And like I said before, I do not know whether our tactical situation has come to the point where we can go ahead and do that. It may be that the underground will have to rise up and start causing problems before that comes about. I'm not sure of that yet. I won't know that until I'm contacted.
Yeah, well, you know, with all these executive orders and these FEMA orders, it's an absolute coup. And, you know, we tell everybody all the time, think of what you would need to pull a coup. Well, he's got it. He's even now given extra constitutional power to his czars with these executive orders. These are not elected people. These are not representatives of the people. These are executive branch czars. And the way I'm seeing it is our Congress and Senate and the court have been overthrown. I don't know if he's threatening their families, but maybe it's time that these politicians and these court officers and whoever come to the people and tell us, look, my family's being threatened. We can take care of their families. They got to take care of this. I hear all these politicians all over the place coming out, oh, Obama did this and Obama did that, and that's unconstitutional. What I have not heard them say is we're filing articles of impeachment. So I'm feeling that they're complicit. As far as the military is concerned, I'm thinking possibly like lieutenants under are patriots. But anything above a lieutenant, they're a political hat. And I'm wondering why they're allowing this abuse of our military to continue. You see what's going on over there in Afghanistan? All right, everybody knows damn well one guy didn't pull off that alleged massacre. Okay, now Karzai's going to pen them all into the cities like farm animals. Okay, is that what our military is supposed to be doing over there, is sitting in the middle of a city in a pen? What's the sense of us being there? And one of these people going to say, hey, this is enough. All right? He apologizes for alleged Korean burnings that ended up not even happening at all by American soldiers anyhow, but he's already apologized. He has not told us that was it a captain? No, it might have been a major. A major was shot in the back of the head before the alleged Korean burnings. They never told us that. He was shot by one of the Afghan soldiers. And these people can't fire back. And then to disarm them when Panetta Show.